Well, we're finally at the show. It's critically acclaimed by the Wrestling Observer readers, 76.3% thumbs up, 130,000 buys, down 20,000 from the prior year with Flair and Luger on top, down 45,000 from Halloween Havoc with Flair and Sting taking on Funk and Muta in the Thunderdome cage. You know, Bischoff has said in his mind, Halloween Havoc was the WCW answer to WrestleMania, if there was such a thing. Of course, there is no real answer for WrestleMania, but
No.
if WrestleMania was the WWF's top show, he felt like Halloween Havoc was WCW's top show. The numbers bear out here since, 45,000 more people bought Halloween Havoc than Starcade. You were here around the wrestling business long before Eric was. In your mind, was Starcade the top WCW show when you were there, or was it Halloween Havoc?
That's how I perceived it. That's how it was pitched to me when I came in. The Starcade was the Rose Bowl,
The granddaddy. Yeah.
the granddaddy of them all. And it's hard to argue that point because for years it was very, very special. Uh, so I thought that I'm glad that the observer fans are very critical. A lot of them are very knowledgeable, so they probably of any other collective group know more about the inner workings of wrestling than any other entity of its kind. Meltzer's certainly been doing it longer than most. So I, I, my the marching orders are to be different to make it special. Something we haven't seen. I don't want to see the same shit. Blah blah blah. So that's what we came up with. And not featuring Flair in the title, in hindsight, could easily be considered a mistake on my end because that's not how the show was booked.
Let's talk about how the show is booked. The point system of the tournament is announced the day of. It's 20 points for a pinfall or submission. It's 15 points for a countout. It's 10 points for a DQ. And it's 5 points for a time limit draw. Of course, these days we know AEW is doing their tournament. And there's, do you think this works and fans can get into it? I love that it has a real sports feel. We
Yeah.
know it's worked successfully in Japan. Do you think it worked for WCW, and can it work in present times for AEW?
Well, I hope so for AEW. I mean, there's to me the tournaments just have a logical progression. Uh, you know, whatever you start with, you start eliminating people. If it's a round robin, so you can have a point system. I like it, or I wouldn't have booked that crazy shit. Uh, but that's just my own personal. I like you. I like the sports component feel. But uh, 130,000 buys wasn't for us at that time wasn't a total disaster, but it wasn't great.
We should also talk about the draw. You guys had 6,000 fans here at the Omni in Atlanta, and check this out. On a Wednesday night, it's December 13th. The gate's around $70,000 because 5,200 fans were paying. But a Wednesday night
Yeah,
pay-per-view, this is unfathomable now. Like, wrestling fans are conditioned that
right.
it's on a Saturday or a Sunday. For years and years, it was almost exclusively on a Sunday, but a Wednesday. Talk to me about how that could have happened.
Ask the decision makers. They had a
Yeah.
brilliant idea. You know, new night, new concept, new. But that's like changing something for change's sake. I'm a big proponent against that. Uh, I don't know how it got on Wednesday. I know that we talked about it a lot, but it was beyond the wrestling group's control. To put it that way, we were told this is what it's going to be. It's oh, by the way, it's Wednesday. What? So it it didn't make a lot of sense. I think that hurt the buy rate. I think it did. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, we know that it's a down from the Thanksgiving night show. You had 6,000 fans here in person versus 7,500 the month before. But one of the issues, you said you don't like change just for the sake of change.
Right.
Well, Meltzer points out that the show starts at 7, but normally these shows start at 8. So there's only like 2,000 fans in the building when the show starts. So it looks less than ideal because the fans have just been conditioned. It's 8:00. No, it's actually 7. But you are on a different journey. I think that you wrote in your book that you were legally stoned during this show because you had a bunch of dental work done.
Oh yeah.
And even led to a visit from the DEA. Talk to us about this.
God. Well, I got into business with a less than reputable. I mean, I had a great practice and beautiful facilities and everything, but the guy was sure free about doling out the pain pills. And I remember talking to Flair about this. You know, he tried to get me to postpone the surgery until after the pay-per-view, which probably made a lot of sense. Actually, I should have done it, but I was amply medicated on that show. I remember that because I was in torturous pain, and my mouth was sore and couldn't control the pain. It was just horrible. I should have listened to Flair on that one, and I didn't. My bad. So yeah, it was and then the DEA came not because of me, but because of my dentist. They were investigating him because apparently he had overprescribed others with strong pain medicines, including me. And it's easy to get to liking that shit. But I had to make it through the show, and you know, my ego wasn't going to let me sit at home and complain of a toothache. So that's what we did. We made it through it. I'd like to go back, and now that we've talked about that, I'd like to go back and listen to a whole match or something just to see if I can catch myself being off timing or something. I didn't notice it, but maybe I wasn't paying that attention in that regard. But it happened, and the show must go on, Connie. You know how that shit goes.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson here to tell you a little more about what adfreeshows.com is all about. Get early, ad-free access to more than a dozen of your favorite wrestling podcasts every single week, starting at just $9. That's less than 20 cents an episode each month. And yes, you can listen to them all directly through Apple Podcasts or your regular podcast apps. How easy is that? Ad-free shows also has thousands of hours worth of bonus content and docuseries like Title Chase, Eric Fires Back, Conversations with Conrad, and The Insiders. Plus new series like The Book with David Crockett, Monday Mailbags with Mike Chioda and Nick Patrick, and a whole lot more. And you want to talk about early? You can't get any earlier than listening to the shows live. You can be a part of the live studio audience as we record the podcast. Plus, ride shotgun alongside your favorite childhood heroes for live watch-alongs, Q&As, and other interactive experiences every single month. Come on now, see for yourself what thousands of other wrestling fans from around the world have discovered, that adfreeshows.com is the best value in wrestling. Check it out today, and hey, when you do, the first week is completely free. adfreeshows.com.